All right, if you've ever gone shopping for a knife, you know this feeling. You get hit with this wall of codes and jargon that sounds a lot more like a chemistry final than, cutlery. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on knife steel. In fact, we're going to give you one super simple framework that'll change how you look at a blade forever. Okay, so let's say you're on the hunt for a new knife. You start digging into reviews, and bam, you hit this wall of codes. You see these names like CPM S110V.
And then you see this one, ZDP189.
And of course, the one everybody is talking about right now, MagnaCut, right? It's just a total alphabet soup of jargon, and it's enough to make your head spin.
So, what does any of this actually mean? It can feel super overwhelming, I get it. But don't you worry. By the end of this, you're going to have one simple tool that lets you understand exactly what you're looking at and, more importantly, what it means for you.
Okay, here's the secret. You don't need to be a metallurgist to get this stuff. Nope, you just need to understand one single concept, the great steel trade-off. See, every steel is just a balancing act between three key things.
First up, we've got hardness. Now this is all about how long your knife stays sharp, plain and simple. A harder steel is going to hold that screamingly sharp edge for a long, long time. We measure this on something called the Rockwell C-scale, or HRC, which is really just a fancy way of testing how well it resists getting a dent.
Next on the list is toughness. This is all about the steel's ability to take a real beating. You know, like if you're chopping wood or, oops, you accidentally drop your knife on the concrete. A tough steel can soak up that kind of impact without chipping or, way worse, completely shatter.
And rounding out our big three is corrosion resistance. This is exactly what it sounds like. How well does your blade fight off rust and stains? This is almost entirely thanks to one special ingredient, chromium. It basically forms this invisible force field on the steel's surface that shields it from moisture.
Okay, and here is the absolute key to everything. These three properties, they're basically in a constant tug of war. If you crank the hardness way, way up, the steel often gets more brittle, less tough. Think about glass. It's super hard, but it shatters, right? On the flip side, if you make a steel incredibly tough and flexible, it probably won't hold that razor-sharp edge for very long.
And that brings us to the most important point of this whole thing. There is no such thing as the single best steel. It just doesn't exist. Every single knife steel ever made is a compromise, a balancing act between that hardness, toughness, and corrosion resistance.
All right, so once you get that idea that it's all a trade-off, you can start to see how different steels are actually designed to be good at certain things. And we can group pretty much all of them into a few main families.
This table really breaks down the different approaches. You've got your carbon steels, total workhorses, super tough, but yeah, you got to keep them oiled or they'll rust. Then you've got your stainless steels, the kitchen champions that just laugh at water, and then you've got the modern PM steels. That stands for powder metallurgy, which is this really high-tech process that lets them mix up ingredients in ways that used to be impossible. They're trying to give you the best of all worlds, but as you can guess, you're definitely going to pay for that kind of performance.
So within these families, and even cutting across them, you can picture a kind of ladder. A ladder of performance and, you guessed it, price. It goes from your basic, affordable options all the way up to the absolute cutting edge of what's possible.
Let's think about it like this. As you climb that ladder, say, from a budget-friendly steel like 420HC up to a super steel like MagnaCut, what you're really paying for is better edge holding and a much more finely tuned balance of all those properties. But the trade-off isn't just about money. Sometimes those really advanced super steels can be a real pain to sharpen at home without special gear.
Okay, so with all of that under our belts, how do you actually use this information to pick the perfect knife for you? Well, it's actually way simpler than you might think. First things first, forget about finding the quote-unquote best steel in the world. It's a myth. The only question that truly matters is this. What is the best steel for the job you need your knife to do?
So let's just walk through three super common scenarios. Are you going to be in the kitchen prepping food, out in the woods processing firewood, or do you just need a reliable do-it-all tool for everyday tasks that's going to live in your pocket?
Okay, for the kitchen, you're dealing with water, acidic stuff like lemons and tomatoes. It's a wet environment. Here, corrosion resistance is absolutely king. You want a good stainless steel that isn't going to rust or stain on you. That way you can focus on your cooking, not on constantly wiping down your blade.
Now let's head out to the woods. Your needs just did a complete 180.
Here you might be chopping branches, splitting small logs. The absolute last thing you want is for a big chip to fly out of your blade. So in this case, toughness is priority number one. And this is where a simple, tough-as-nails carbon steel is often the perfect choice.
And what about for your pocket for an everyday carry or EDC knife? Well, now you're facing a little bit of everything, aren't you? You want a steel that holds a great edge for opening all those packages, but it also has to resist rust from just being in your pocket, and it still needs to be tough enough for whatever random task pops up. This is exactly where those modern, super balanced steels really shine.
And just like that, we've come full circle. It all comes back to that one core idea, the triangle of compromise. No steel can do it all. The best steel is simply the one that makes the right trade-offs for your specific job.
So the next time you see that alphabet soup of steel names, don't ask yourself, is this a good steel? Instead, ask a better question. What trade-offs did the designers choose when they made this blade? Because now you have the framework to figure out the answer for yourself. Thanks so much for watching, and stay sharp.